Have you ever heard anything about Lambdas, about functional interfaces? How do they actually work? What does it really mean when you've got parentheses, then a hyphen, and a larger sign, and then some code? And really, what does it mean to write a Lambda? And what is a function within Java? Everything will be explained in this video right now. Let's get right to it. First of all, we're going to start with a class of a dog. Then we've got an interface, printable, which has a single method called print. So let's go ahead and use this and then call this method within our main. So in order to do that, we first need to implement it. And as usual, we've got a red text, meaning that unfortunately we need to do something, and in this case it is to implement the interface. As you may remember, in order to use an interface and implement it, you need to implement all the methods within any interface. So in order to do that, I'm going to just press Ctrl I, and then I've got this ready template with the print. And what I'm going to print out here is just a simple bug. So now let's go to main, and let's create a dog equals new dog, and it's going to be called smooth for a breed, and then let's just call d.print, which is going to print out bark. So let's see if it happens. Yep, it actually did. So that's very nice. So now what I can also do is I can then put in the dog object into this run printable method, which actually has this printable. Why does it work? Well, because if it has the printable interface, if the class implements the printable interface, it means that it actually has the implementation of the print method, and this is the only thing that matters here. So instead of doing this, what I can do is I can just go ahead and call method run printable and input d, which should then result in the same output, which is bark. So that's very nice. However, one key thing here to notice is that actually this method only cares about the printable p and the implementation that I have within the doc. And what is annoying here and what is really deterring a lot of people in Java is that in order to just call this simple method, I needed to first of all have an interface, implement it within the class, implement some method, then go into main, create an object, and then call the method, which is a lot of things to just pass in the public void print with system out println bark. What really matters is just this part. So in order to do that, I'm going to do something pretty non-standard, and I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste what I have here. So here, essentially what I'm passing on is the implementation of the method that really matters. Well, and right now I can actually try to make it a bit simpler. I don't really need any sort of access modifier here because I know where I am and this method won't be passed around at this point and stage. I also don't need the return thing because I know that first of all this takes in a printable p, and the printable p only has a single method, which is void print, and I know what the state is just because I know this is printable. So the compilator will actually be able to know what it is. So void is not necessary. And then again, the print itself. I know that I'm taking in printable p. It means that I can only have print. So this is also not necessary. So what is necessary is actually just the arguments, the parameters of my method, and then the body of the method. And what is actually missing is just a hyphen and a larger sign, which is actually a functioning lambda. So what we have actually done here is we've successfully passed the implementation of the print method of the printable interface into the run printable, and we have successfully created a lambda. Let me just run the code and see if it works. Yep, bark. And what I have done here is, first of all, I can also, if lambda has a single statement, then I can then delete the curly brackets, and I don't need this sign as well. So as you can see, I have shortened all this operation of having an interface, this is necessary, then implementing this within a class, then creating an object, then calling this object method, or passing the object itself to the method that is then running the print. So as you can see, I have shortened this quite a bit by just using a lambda. And then lambda is something that I can just save to a variable and then can use later on multiple times. So first of all, let's delete the dog that I have had here because it is no longer necessary. And what I can do here is I can create a variable of the printable type. Let's call it variable lambda. And it's going to be equal to exactly that. And what I can do here is just pass on variable lambda. So let's talk a little bit about the syntax itself. So here, first of all, on the left-hand side, if there are no parameters for my lambda, then I always need to use the empty parentheses to signify that something is happening. And then if we introduce more parameters in just a second, I'll show you how it can be different. The necessary step is this hyphen and the larger sign. And then we've got the body of the method that we want to pass on. And then we can just do anything we would want with it. So that is very much shortening the way we write code in Java. Of course, if this is only a single statement, then it's very, very simple because we can only do it within our one-liner. Let's go back into our printable interface and let's introduce a variable string. Let's maybe do a suffix. So now that we've got a suffix, we've got an error here and here. Over here, what I'm going to paste is just an exclamation mark, and for our printable, it means that we are always then getting an argument that we can then add to the end of our string. So right now what I need to do is I can just call it suffix, or I can just say it's s. I don't need to specify the type because the compiler itself knows it over here. The declaration of the interface, it has a string suffix, so it knows exactly what type is being passed on into the method. And if I don't have more than one argument or just one argument, I can then also delete the parentheses. But I'm going to leave them here just for the sake of simplicity. I can use this argument or I can not use it at all. So I want to use it, and in order to use it, what I need to do is just plus and the value of s. And right now what we are expecting is that we will actually get double one more thing is that I forgot over here that we also need to put it in here so that it doesn't shout at me and everything is compiling nicely. So then we can just run it. And as you can see here, I'm getting double exclamation marks at the end of it due to the fact that I've declared it so, and I'm calling print method with this way. So that is very, very nice and dandy. So that's just a single one, and I'm not returning anything because it is a void. If I wanted to, I can insert here multiple arguments, for example, string prefix and string suffix. And then what I need to do is just after comma, I can just separate the arguments. But let's stay with just a single one. Last thing that we can talk about is the return type, because if I wanted to return something, for example, string in this case, then in the doc, since we are no longer using it, let's delete the implements and let's delete this one so that it doesn't mess with anything anymore. And let's go back over here. And here I've got but return type void cannot be converted to string, because it seems right now that we are just returning void. So in order to combat this, what I can do is, instead of doing that, I can just do something along those lines. It means that I can then not care about the return keyword, and actually my lambda, and what I'm writing over here is that this lambda will return bark string plus the suffix that I'm putting in as the argument. Of course, we can then, right now we are missing this printing capability. And in order to have it back, what I can do is, first of all, we've got the curly braces once again. And what I want to do is return the value of the string and then once again print out bark plus s. And then at the end of it, of course, we need to put proper size so that it doesn't break. And right now, if I wanted to, I can just run the printable, do anything with it, and by variable lambda, I can then return any type of value that I would want. Now, what is the requirement for an interface to be then used as a lambda? It needs to be only one method, which is abstract, meaning without any implementation, within the interface. If I put in more than one, for example, I wanted to do int print number, I will get errors. So as you can see now, I'm getting errors because the compiler cannot really find what is the method that should be here as the lambda, which should be really put into it. So it has a big problem. But you can combat this easily, and you can see any functional interfaces by just using @functional interface, and this way it will prevent you from creating more than a single abstract method within this particular interface. So everything is all fine and dandy, and please, just as a reminder, whenever we are using lambdas, this is just passing an implementation of a functional interface that then we can use, and it's way easier to use compared to other solutions such as just implementing the interface. However, for an interface to be passed as a lambda, it needs to have only single method, which is abstract, meaning without the body. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video where we are going to be talking about streams.